Hello, it's really a pleasure to be here, and we speak a little bit about food tourism and what happened this year. In the last 10-15 years, we were in a world of gastromania. Everything spoke about food in the world. And so we had a lot of TV shows and series, a lot of magazines that spoke about food, a lot of books, and a lot of university courses and forum and research. I am the author of the report on food and wine tourism in Italy that I publish every year. And everything changed in the last 15 years. The first research regarding food activities and tourism was done in 2007 in Canada, and we saw that only 17% of tourists did a memorable food experience while they travel. Now we are around 95% of tourists that love to live extraordinary experience related to food while they travel. And the number of different activities that they want to live are growing. In Italy, for example, we have 77% of tourists that did different kind of food experiences in the travel of last 2 years, except of COVID year, okay? And so we were going in a world that started from traditional, organic, sustainable, slow, trackable, and 0 kilometers food. We were going to a world of creativity, enjoyment, pleasure, socialization, passion, and involvement in the world of food tourism. And with Eric Wolf and Matthew Stone, that is the president of World Food Travel Association. I am in the board of directors, and Matthew Stone from University of California. Every 4 years, we prepare Food Travel Monitor. That is a research that analyzes the data worldwide related to food tourism. And so we saw, and we presented this research at the beginning of last year, and we saw that we have a very high interest related to food tourism quite in every country that we analyze. In China, Mexico, France, Canada, United States, Italy, and the United Kingdom. We see around 1 tourist on 2 are defining to do a tour, a journey with this primary motivation. And we see that the very important data related to China and Mexico, where we find 81% of tourists in China that define to do a tour with this main purpose. Very, very interesting data. We analyzed what happened this year too. I created a group of experts during the COVID to analyze around the world the situation and to study and to define what happened related to food tourism in this dramatic situation. And so we, with the characteristic of a new traveler that we know very, very well, food tourism can be something very interesting because for a lot of situations, food tourism is mainly domestic in most of the countries that we analyze. And so Italians love to do food tourism in Italy, in United States, Mexico, outside and inside. And so this food tourism worked very well along this year because it's safe and then include outdoor and nature-based activities. Tourists love to do this kind of situation. And then from South America to Europe, last summer, when we were possible to do activities, and along the winter in South America, we had a very important increase in visit, for example, in wineries and so on. And then we analyzed the data. When we were in lockdown, for example, in Italy, we studied which kind of topics that people wanted to were involved, and a lot of people were involved mainly on food. They started to cook again in the house and dedicate a lot of time on this. And so we think, and we are studying the new data, we'll present in the month of May, and we see an increasing related interest on food tourism. But these are the countries where we studied what happened along last year along COVID. And so we studied which kind of activities increase and which kind decrease, and obviously we saw a decrease in the guided tours inside the company. Instead, an increase, for example, in picnic, guided tours in the vineyard, activities with the bicycle, a very interesting number of new activities related to this e-bike. And then, for example, in Italy, quite most of the most important food and wine regions are studying this kind of tours and improving the services related to e-bike because it's growing a lot. And here are the topics that we think that will grow more in next year related to food and wine tourism. So offer experiences that incorporate local culture, more involvement of the inhabitants in the tours and in the activities, create new and diversify the offer of experiences because it depends on the different kind of experiences. But for example, in Italy, we are very strong on wine tourism, and the tourists start to be a little bit bored relating to the offer of experiences, and then it's necessary to diversify it, create really involving experiences. We are working on experiences with the active participation of visitors, with a direct relationship, create a new relationship with clients. For example, we are increasing wine club, the possibility to work to create a long-time relation with the tourist, and so never-ending tourism, before, along, and after the journey. And we'll see some examples of what is possible to obtain. And then work on sustainability and work on digitalization. These are the main topics. And so now it is an opportunity to restart, refocus, and reframing. And so here we can see something where we are working on. We are working really on new technologies applied because we think that this can be one of the solutions that is possible to apply. Because with new technologies, we can have a lot of points of strengthness. And so, for example, we can create, when you go to a winery or to see the production of cheese or something like this, you are there just 2 hours, and you don't see what happened all the year. With the new technologies, you can be involved in the world of food and wine tourism and what will happen all the year. We can add the volume a little bit of the video. And so, for example, this is a winery in New Zealand. And they created this immersive situation. They used it in the fair. They use directly in the vineyard. And so they show what happened in 12 months, not only that 2 hours. And they use virtual reality and different kind of technologies. Here it is another example. This is a digital table that is organized in California, and you can see how it's possible to involve the tourist while doing testing. So we have these kind of tables where you have in your hands this glass. There is a chip in the glass, and so the table will understand which kind of wine are you drinking, and will give you a full experience related to this wine that you can directly define from the table. can see something different. Here are some kind of restaurants that we see around the world. And so, for example, just before the COVID, started a new restaurant in Copenhagen, Alchemist, and these are immersive restaurants. You will taste the food, and you are in a room with 360 videos, with music and the scene related to the food that you are tasting. And so you live a really different dinner, and when you eat, for example, you drink wine, you are immersed in a graveyard, in the vineyards, and so on. It's possible to increase the accessibility with technology. We saw an increased number of digital tasting last year, quite along the world. I analyzed the situation in Australia, in United States, in France, and in Italy, and we saw a lot of this situation, an increasing number of digital tasting. And so it was possible to create activities with a lot of different interests, different activities that were related to the testing. So, for example, we saw one of the theme of the future will be the wellness. And so, for example, we saw tasting with yoga. This is what happened, for example, in United States. Or in Tolosa, we saw business-to-business events that went through the web, and the digital tasting with the distributor of the wine along the world happen online. This is another example from United States. We saw tasting with, they suggested you which kind of wine you can taste with the most important TV series of Netflix, for example. Or they created some Spotify music that were very good with that kind of wine. And so this is an example created with Amazon Alexa or Google Home. And so with that kind of situation, you can organize the tasting of the wine. This is the example.
Host your own Apothec tasting challenge for an evening of bold tastes and intriguing moments. It's an experience best served with a crowd. Are you ready?
So the digital tasting are growing a lot. It's possible to create an engagement of the tourists, mainly using social networks, and usually is the owner of the wineries that create these kind of experiences. Otherwise, we can have paid digital tasting. You can sell the box with the bottle of wine, with food, and so on. And in this case, usually it is use Zoom, Google Meet, or something like this, and you pay for the experience. These are very, it is possible to create a good connection with the visit of a winery. And so you can do it in advance, or you can offer it to the friends that was to discover with them and show them the beautiful tasting that you did in your holiday. And so we think that will be very interesting to use it in the future. With technology, it's possible to create more involving edutainment. For example, we are seeing a lot of gaming related to food tourism. This is an example in Italy, but we have examples in a lot of places in the world, and so the creation of some gaming where you can, in this case, be a winemaker, and you have to do the right choices relating to the grapes, relating to the process, and so it's quite involving. And you can enhance interactions. This is the example of Bordeaux, Cité du Vin. And so you can see that you can touch, you can move, you can define the choice that you want to live the experiences. In Italy, this year we had a lot of digital menu in the restaurant. Then with the QR code, it's possible to go into a full world of information. And so relating to the food that you can choose, but relating to the producers, related to the process to produce that kind of food, to the security that you can have behind this food. And then QR code is something very interesting. These are virtual labels. This is the example of Jack Daniels that you can download the app and then you can go near it and you can see the production site of Jack Daniels. These are very interesting projects. This is the first one. It's the Night in Crimes. You can see here how it happens, but the most important thing is this, the numbers. 700 million of impressions, 8 million of app sessions, 4-star rating in Apple, 22 million total screen views, and so on. And so it's very interesting from marketing point of view because it was a great success. And in this case, we have Paso Roble in California, and we can see in the vineyards these lights that and then this is a new experience in the vineyard, and instead this is a digital museum in Tokyo, immersive room where you can live food and wine experiences. We are in a new world, but we are more friendly with technologies after this long year, and so we can use it with a human touch, but we can use it to advance in the involvement of the tourist and to create new immersive experiences. And then in Italy we are working a lot on this topic and putting all the time the people at the center of the stage and trying to develop a new sustainable food tourism. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor. Well,